welcome back to another episode of Over the Glass. I am your host, Jay.
And I'm other host Ness.
And
What?
the draft happened.
Yes. Everything we've been waiting for.
It was everything I wanted it to be. It was everything that I'm sure other people who are excited about the Stanley Cup felt. I felt it during the draft. All of my excitement, it did not disappoint. So I guess let's just start out with how was your draft day? Again, every year I say I'm going to take the day off for the draft because I expect it to be, something that I'm really going to want to focus on. And then the draft comes and I'm like, crap, I didn't ask for the day off. And then I think, oh, not a big deal. It'll be on this day. It'll be later in the afternoon. Famous last words. I'm sure it will be very chill. It was not chill at work. But thankfully, despite all the chaos that happened usually you don't want, especially on a Friday, you don't want chaos to happen at work. But as it does, this stuff cannot be predicted. Thankfully, I managed to get stuff done and swoop in to give my undivided attention to the NHL draft that started at 4 p.m. Pacific time. With everything leading up to it, we figured we're probably going to take Michael Misa, but there's a little slither of hope that the Islanders could fumble the puck and overthink it and take someone else. And then I can only imagine that we would then be like, time for us to get Schaefer. Well,
No.
That didn't happen. So even leading up to the Islanders coming in and announcing their pick, the bigger news before Misa was that apparently the Islanders were trying to get more picks in the top 10. And there was, it was reported that they had been dangling Noah Dobson in front of us to get the second pick. And the moment I saw that, I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. As much as I was high on Noah Dobson, I'm still high on Noah Dobson, and I'm incredibly jealous of the Habs blue line because it is looking good.
Yeah.
Despite whatever happened to sour the whatever happened with the Islanders, because he was looking good for a while until something happened, but then something happened across the board for the entire Islanders. So whatever happened, they tried to trade it to us to get the second pick in this draft. We said absolutely not. Rejected by Mike Greer. Ended up getting traded to the Habs for a prospect and the 16th and 17th in the draft. But I wanted to start there. If you didn't see that on draft day, what are your feels with them coming in being like, we know you need defense?
I think it's good business on the Islanders' part. Obviously, the Sharks need defense. They knew that. Dobson was one of the better defensemen on the market coming. I don't know if he was going to be a free agent, but they decided to trade him at the draft for free agency. I think it's silly because, they're trying to entice Greer for the second overall pick. And I don't know if I've ever heard of a team actually trading their top 3 picks. That'd be insane because it's like, this is a rebuilding team. We need these pieces that are, the future of the team. As good as Dobson would have been on the Sharks, I don't think he was worth trading Misa for. I don't know. That's so silly. But I'm glad Greer kept it, the pick. We have Misa now. I think I'm really excited to see where this team is headed. Like, we've been saying this for all season, since last season. Like, yeah, it sucks, but we're gonna see the fruits of his labor in a minute here, and now we're seeing it, and now he's adding even more exciting pieces, and I was just like, I feel giddy.
Yeah, like when I saw that trade for Dobson, it made me think about last week when we were talking from this Habs Fanatics website that you brought up, and they had brought in here's an offer that could maybe allow a team like Montreal. It's interesting that Montreal still ended up being in this mix of this conversation, sending for Michael Misa, if we were to trade it to the Habs, like the return, a possible trade offer would be two up and coming prospects that, I did kind of take a look at, and, just from stats alone, like they're not like nobodies. Like they're definitely producing, they're definitely coming into the mix here for the Habs, and they're going to be, good players for their franchise. And then the 16th and the 17th pick that the Habs ultimately traded over to the Islanders. But then I was looking even more into Michael Misa's background. I mean, yeah, like they were talking about like Schaefer and Misa in the conversation for like who would go first overall. But I was not aware, and it's in this article, but I didn't read that far, but I was not aware that he played in the OHL in his sophomore year of high school, which is uncommon. You have to like get approval from the OHL because he's underage. And the only other person, I did a quick look at this the other day out of curiosity, the only other person who came up who was an exception to that rule was John Tavares. So I'm not aware. Not only is this kid like, he's got his resume to back him up, but he's also like a year younger than all these guys, and like I can't even like wrap my head around like playing at an elite level when you're like 15 years old and you're like in in major juniors.
Yeah.
And then now you're getting drafted second overall to San Jose Sharks. So
no big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, so all of that extra stuff made me go like, yeah, I would not have taken Noah Dobson in a heartbeat now, knowing more than I did previously. But it was interesting to see that like conversation came into the mix. Like, respect to the Islanders, like they're trying to turn this stuff around like quick. And, just like us, just like any other team that isn't in the talks for for being cup contenders. So I gotta respect them, but absolutely not. So anyways, but then they were still in the mix. Islanders were still hunting. They were like, we will approve nearly anything to get within the top 10 again, because they were really trying to get Hagens, which the whole hometown boy conversation. They were trying to get this guy. And I was having conversations on the side with some of my friends being like, I mean, you could just take him. Like I've been hearing that Schaefer's kind of overrated. So I mean, maybe you should just take him at number 1 and solve all your problems, right?
They would have got so much hate if they did that. Like, what are you doing?
Like, if somehow that would have happened, and then the way they did the draft was decentralized this season, which was like, I don't know if you want to give your opinions later to it, but when every player goes to like go talk to the team, if that were to happen, you would have seen Greer grinning just from ear to ear. The man would have been smiling. He would have just been like, perfect. I can't wait for summer. Oh my God. But anyways, so the Islanders tried their best. They weren't able to do it. Hagens, I believe, went to I think he went to the Bruins.
Yeah.
Because he was talking up about like, oh, this and that, whatever. And he doesn't even have to move because he's right there in Boston anyway. So good times for this guy. But to the Sharks, as mentioned, we drafted Michael Misa. Looking forward to this guy. There's already talks about how, well, first of all, this dude is ambitious as shit. Like, he wants to make the Sharks next season. And you know what? Good for him. Good for him. Do I want him there? If he earns it, good for him. But we're not We're not turning on the throttle.
Right. Yeah. It'd be great if he could, just to see like what he can bring to the team. I think I haven't seen him play. Like I haven't seen videos. Like Matt Celebrini was like so hyped up last year that you would see highlights all the time, and you're like, this kid
Keep
is
away from it.
absolutely ready. Yeah, he's absolutely ready for the NHL. I'm excited to see him in teal and play for the team. Whatever. I haven't seen that for this kid, so I don't think the hype is there. I don't think that he will be ready. He'll probably like come in, play a couple games, kind of like feel it out, maybe for like preseason. And if he makes the team opening day, great. But I don't think he'll be there for the whole season. But who knows? Maybe I'll eat my words later, and he'll prove me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we love the ambition. We love the the competitiveness in him. And Greer's always talking about, hey, there's jobs to be won here. As much as we get attached to these guys, like he's given everybody an opportunity. Like this is your chance to show me what you've got. So, and I prefer it that way.
Yeah.
We're trying to build a team up to success again, and just because you draft these 4 or 5 guys in one draft and everyone's feeling good about it, it's like you can't stop there. You have to keep going. You have to keep replenishing the pool. And what was really nice about on Friday when they were talking up about all these guys and whatever, when they got to the Sharks, the broadcasters, I don't know who had said it, but it's always nice to hear from non-local analysts and media members. This guy said, and I quote, the Sharks have an embarrassment of riches. And I'm like, yes, yes, we do.
And it feels good over here.
Tell me more about it. So it is cool to hear guys talking up about the Sharks. Now, I want to get your opinion about who we took at 30th, because I was seeing mock drafts like here and there, and then you figure, okay, as much as we were hoping we would land in the to get the first overall, to get Schaefer, we take Misa at center, and then you're thinking, well, yeah, of course we're going to try to get another defenseman, add more to the pool. So how
Right.
do you feel about the Sharks taking a goaltender, Joshua Ravensbergen, who great last name, taking him at 30th?
I was thrown off. Like I was out and about, so I was trying to like again check socials to see where we were at. First of all, I just want to bring attention to the fact that the draft lasted like 1,000 hours, which is crazy. I don't know if they'll try this again. Because I was like, okay, have they picked yet? And they were still on like pick 15. I'm like, what is happening over there? I was hoping, like we had talked about, it would have been great if Greer would have been able to trade up into the drafts to be able to get Eklund. Ultimately, Eklund ended up being drafted by the Islanders. Ugh, whatever. They took 2 guys that we wanted, but whatever. And then I heard, I think after the first night, that Greer was interviewed and said that he was going to go for the best available players instead of tending to what the team needs, which was really interesting. So like everyone knows that the Sharks need defensemen. Everyone thought, okay, at 30 they'll get a defenseman. And then he said that, and people are speculating that maybe he'll get like um, who like Spence or whatever at like in the second round, whatever it was. But like, so they come and they're trying to pick 30, and I think I saw the kid Colin Potter projected to go 30, which I thought was really interesting because like I don't know how much you're into like books and things, but I was like first thought was like their parents have to be nerds because that's 2 last names for 2 major like books that were really big back when we were in like high school. Like Twilight and Harry Potter. So silly. That would have been like they could do so much with marketing with that. But yeah, so the Sharks ultimately end up picking a goalie. I'm like, that's interesting. In the first round, it's not really heard of unless it's like a freaking Mark, ¿cómo se llama? His Flurry. I don't know. I don't hate it. You know, we have Askarov obviously coming up. He's going to be our starter. He needs someone to back him up if for whatever reason. I don't know if this is like insurance if Askarov doesn't work out, or if it's like we're gonna keep this guy to like have a crazy tandem if he turns out to be like a really good goalie or whatever. Or if Greer's thinking like if things don't work out, you know, he can be a good trade piece later down the line, which is so silly to say, but like, you know, it is a business and that's how things work. So I don't hate it. I like it. He's supposed to be projected to be the best goalie in the draft, and he wasn't even the first goalie to be drafted in the draft, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who ended up choosing a goalie, and I can't recall off the top of my head, but I was also seeing people being like, yeah, he was Ravensburgen was projected to be whoever ends up choosing a goaltender in the first round, he would be like the top prospect, and then he wasn't. So I don't know if this was always on their game plan to take a goalie in the first round. We'll never know, you know, especially with Greer. He keeps it real close to his chest. I anticipating the 30th overall pick. I was like texting one of my friends, and he's been following the I don't know, the draft prospects a little closer, and he was like, how is Blake Fiddler still on the board? We need to take him if he's there, blah blah blah, and whatever. And I'm like, reading up who's Blake Fiddler.
Right.
And I'm like,
You're so right.
Totally, man. And so, you know, I was like looking up who is this guy? Who's this guy? So like his dad played in the NHL. So it's like, okay, so maybe that's got him in the mix for people talking about him. And then, you know, the potential caliber of his game. I haven't really seen anything beyond what I learned about over the weekend. But even like talking about how people expected certain teams or certain prospects to go quicker in the draft than they didn't. Like you know, we talked a little bit about Victor Eklund, and he was projected to go like I believe within the top 10. So when he wasn't, I was starting to wonder like what's going on. Like, and of course you know that like after the top 3 or whatever, like even if you
Free for all.
yeah, I mean even if you project like okay at pick 11 I'm gonna pick this guy, like, but if someone on your board is still there, of course you know you need to make the change because it's like the best player to still be available, or you know whatever it is, right? Like, so I think that was also starting to come into play. So I don't know. Like with like I was asking my friend, like, do you think it's weird that Victor Eklund hasn't been picked yet? And he said, you know, not really, because he's a smaller player. Yeah, like 6 foot. He's 5'11", I think. I'm gonna look it up. He's slightly taller than his brother. He is 5'11". So he's small.
Right. Doesn't hit
Yeah,
that
so it's
6 foot
like
average.
yeah, so he's small, you know, these guys want everybody like giants and whatever. It's like, okay, I get it. And then he eventually goes to the Islanders, and it was really funny seeing pictures and videos of him with William Eklund, and then there's like a picture of the whole family. They have a big family, or it's like families and friends and whatever. And they're taking a picture, and he's in his Islanders jersey, and they're all wearing Islanders hats. And the only person not wearing an Islanders hat is William Eklund. And I can only imagine that he was handed one. He was like, absolutely not.
You're right.
Absolutely not.
Those colors,
So,
no.
so yeah, as cool of a story, and then the great vibes, you know, to if we had the opportunity to take Eklund, Victor Eklund, and if he was on the board for the Sharks, like that would have been really cool. I am fine with them being like, no, we're good. You guys have your fun picking. But he, like, I was like, shit, is he gonna like drop into the 20s? Like, he was not getting picked. I was like, and this team's gonna get him. Nope. And this team's gonna get him. Nope. But anyways, going back to Joshua Ravensburg, like I like this pick. If let's say they had a defenseman in mind, and then because Ravensburg was expected to get picked as the first goaltender to leave the first round, like the fact that he wasn't, they're probably like, you know what? We have this other a guy in mind. We're going to have the first pick in the second round. He's not expected to get picked until the second round. We're good. Like as interested as people may be about Blake Fiddler, we're fine. We're going to pick this goaltender instead. And I saw, some reactionary feels across the socials about like, oh, what does this mean for Askarov? Or like, oh, this is really bad for Askarov. It is not. This bro is not going to show up tomorrow. Like, if he did, I would be incredibly impressed, but we're not
And then
in that.
we'd be excited, like if he's ready to play in the NHL.
But he's not, guys. He's not. He's at least like 3 years out and then getting his toes wet, Like, and at the end of the day, we like healthy competition here. Askarov, we know he is determined. He wanted that spot in Nashville. He didn't get it. He gets the opportunity here. Greer is giving him his word. Show me what you've got. We're not just going to hand you this net. You have to earn it. And I think he's going to come in very strong in the next season. And then he's going to have a buddy right behind him. And, we love the goalie vibes, the buddy vibes. So he's not seeing him as like, oh, I'm going to send death threats to you, like coming for my net. Like, no, it's all good, guys. It's all good. I'm excited for this dude. He was not expecting to be taken by the Sharks, largely because, hey, they've got this nice up and coming goaltender. I really wasn't expecting that they would be interested in the first round to pick a goaltender because they've got someone else cooking. Mm-hmm. Moving on to the second round, the Sharks get the first pick in the second round. And how do you feel about us taking Simon Housey Wang?
Very surprised. I feel like every draft since we've started this podcast, I'm like, man, like I'm glad that they got whoever they did, but like I wish the Sharks would pick a person of color. Like we need more diversity in this game, and they finally did. And I was like, I'm more curious to hear your thoughts because this is the highest drafted Chinese-born player to get drafted into the NHL. He barely started playing 4 years ago, and he was drafted this high. I think I'm very intrigued and excited to see where his development goes, like what he can bring. He is a defenseman, right?
Yes.
Where's his position? Yeah.
Left-shotted defenseman. Mm-hmm.
We needed a defenseman. We got a defenseman. I'm curious. He seems to be developing rather quickly for someone who started so late in his youth. Yeah, I'm excited about this pick. He seems like such a good guy. I was also seeing like when it was announced, sometimes they'll post videos of them interacting with the fans at the like their red carpet entrance, whatever it's called. I saw a couple of ladies, I think, were like, we traveled all the way from China to come see you get drafted or something. It was such a cute interaction. They got his autograph and pictures with him. And then he's also said that he's looking to grow the sport out in China. So excited to see what he brings to the league.
Yeah, so I was actually trying to see, because we talked about this some months back, but I believe he came on my radar because obviously he's Chinese. That's important stuff for me. And then his story. So he actually started hockey at 4 years old. He went to one of his friends' games, fell in love with it, but he didn't start like really developing until he came out to Canada when he was 14. So his mom, him, moved over to Canada because I believe at a certain point, the development, obviously he mentions like he wants to help grow the sport in China. Well, at a certain point, and this is very similar to obviously like places like that aren't Minnesota, Boston, all of Canada. At a certain point, the development opportunities are no longer there. And then if you want to take the next step into the like really thinking about it professionally, you have to make the leap. You have to go to these areas that are surpassing expectation. They have a big hockey market, like the Minnesotas, like Canada and everything. So at 14, he decided, this is what I want to do. And they took this leap. Of course, we talk a lot about like how one of the hurdles for this sport is that it's so expensive. Well, not everybody can just pick up and move to Canada. And like his mom even bought like a hockey team out there. Like they got some money. So, but so just the story in itself kind of put him on the radar for me earlier in the season. And I was like, this will be cool. Last draft, I was super excited to see like Kevin He got drafted by the Jets, I believe, in the second round or whatever. And I'm like, that's cool for the Jets.
Right.
And I was big on like Zane Parekh. I was really hoping when we traded to get within the top 10 to pick a defenseman, and I'm like, please get Zane Parekh, and then he was off the boards. So it's like the time finally came for our franchise. Like it has been a hot minute since Devin Setaguchi that the Sharks have drafted an Asian player, and it's like no disrespect to Cody Ceci and Alexander True, who came in through this, came in to our organization, and they are a certain percentage of Asian. Like this is just a whole nother level for me.
Yeah.
And it was only a couple of days ago when I started looking at a lot of these mock drafts that I started seeing that there were a number of analysts and, people who work and do this kind of stuff that were projecting that the Sharks would take him at the 33rd pick. And that's when I was like, I wasn't even thinking like I wasn't even sure where he would go in the draft. And so I was just saying this will just be cool for like the NHL as a whole. And I'll probably watch him somewhere and be like, that's so awesome. But the fact that he was being projected on these mock drafts for the Sharks, I was like, this could be what? And so the friend I was mentioning the other day who was like, oh, we better take Blake Fiddler if he's still, on the 30th pick. And then when we didn't, and then nobody picked him in the first round, the next day on Saturday, I was texting my friend and we were talking about it, and I'm like, I'm guessing you probably want them to take Fiddler with this pick. And he's like, yes. And I'm like, well, so we both had different, we both had different expectations. And I kid you not, when he was announced, I started clapping in my room. like as excited as I've been since we've been following the draft a little more closely during the rebuild process and whatever. Of course, I've been excited about Celebrini. Of course, I've been excited about Michael Misa. But this is a whole different level to be excited about more than just the talent and how this player can like bring that to our team. Like this is just exciting. Just with the barriers that he's breaking, like the fact that he started at 4 years old and then he came over to Canada when he was 14, and he, like aspects of his game is obviously still more in development, and people are saying he started later in terms of just like he hasn't gotten as high of a caliber of development because he came over later to like Canada and had those opportunities. But the fact that like apparently he's being touted for like his skating ability, which is something that they talk about kids like getting put on skates when they're like 2-3 years old, and and then from there they get like if they're serious about the sport, those are the years where you're really starting to develop your, like, how your muscles react to stuff and whatever. But the fact that, like, that's not really, I mean, it says on this article that his skating is below NHL average, but it's still impressive that for how late of a start he got, it's not the worst part of his game. And
Right.
then everything else at the end of the day, it's like IQ level, like puck handling, like, yeah, that's stuff that he's like, most of these guys are still going to have to work on anyway, you
Right.
know?
He's
And
a big dude, so like I'm not surprised that his
yeah, we
skating is
haven't
below
even
average.
mentioned that. This dude is a giant. He is 6'6".
That's
So,
that's like three
yeah.
of me. No, I'm just kidding.
So, yeah, that, and yeah, and then I also saw that post where it was like, I was telling my friend, like, after I saw that, I was like, if this guy can really, buckle down and improve his game and be successful in the league, he is going to bring in all the amas, the nanais, the aunties into this
Absolutely.
sport. Like, they, like, just because he's on the ice, like, they might not even really know about the sport, but they will be buying all your merch. They will be getting season tickets. They will be bringing all of their friends that they've made at mahjong and dim sum and whatever. They will come into this building just to watch this kid.
Yes.
It'll
Also,
be so cool.
what a great opportunity with like him being so close to San Francisco, like that Bay Area representation. We have a lot of Chinese Americans out here because of the history or whatever. So if they don't take advantage of that, what a missed opportunity. Also, I wanted to point out that I think Greer's like his final decision to draft this kid, I think he's committed to going to BU after he plays a year in the OHL. So that was probably his deciding factor because we know how he works.
Yeah, that was also the other thing when I saw that he was projected to go to BU, and I was like, oh, this is a given.
Yeah.
Duh. Like, Greer saw that, and he was just like
Yes.
laser focused. He's like, good kid. Um, so I just want to kind of go down the line with the rest of the guys. One thing I want to mention before I do that, the did you have any feels in terms of how the rest of this draft like panned out in terms of positions that were taken for the
No,
Sharks?
no, I didn't pay much attention after. Like I don't know much about these other kids.
Well, I'm going to point out the fact that we did not take a winger until our final pick. We went center, goalie, defense, center, defense, center. There, yeah, we pretty much did the lone winger, and of course, center. It could be versatile depending on the need of the lineup. But I found it really interesting because I kind of expected, okay, after we get the center, the goalie, the defense, maybe another defense if another good one is still on the board, and then we'll like sprinkle in some wingers. And the fact that like we continued to get centers and then a D here and then center, I thought it was interesting, but then I didn't hate the strategy. I didn't really know whether it was like they just didn't have much of a feeling in terms of the wingers that were left, or perhaps the way things turned out, they had a winger on the board and they ended up getting taken, and then they went with the next best, which ended up being a center. Or if their strategy is just like, you know what, we're good for right now with the winger prospects that we have in the pool. And then, of course, we know that the Sharks need to make quite a number of moves in this free agency because we have a ton of money and we're not at the cap floor. So we know we need to sign some guys. There's going to be some dudes out there with veteran presence who can fill in on the wing. it didn't really seem like a bad strategy to just, get a ton of prospects down the line, down the center of the ice, and then more on the back end, and then get another potential prospect of a goaltender. Like, it just felt like, you know what, it's fine. We're going to fill in all the other stuff later. So that was kind of like my feeling with, we took Cole McKinney at 53, Teddy Mutryn, Mutryn, and woo, this defenseman now has the longest name in the prospect pool, Ilyas Magomedsoltonov.
Yes.
He has one extra letter to beat out Mukmadulin. And then after that, we took Zachary Sharp, a defenseman, Max Heisey at center, and then Richard Gallant is a forward. Any other feels for how the Sharks did in this draft? Are you excited? Were you expecting more?
No, I'm disappointed. No, I'm actually very excited. I'm very excited with their picks. I don't know much
about a very opinionated letter to Mike Grier.
Mr. Mike Grier, please. What are you doing? No, I'm excited to see what happens with these guys. Like, not everyone pans out, unfortunately, but at least the top 3 guys that they drafted, I'm really excited for. So we'll see.
Okay. Moving on. I could have a lot of thoughts about the rest of the draft, but I want to move on to other things. But before I do that, we love our diversity on this podcast. And when Riker Lee was taken by the Nashville Predators, like, okay, Lee can also be, a non-Asian last name. But when I saw this kid, I was like, Asian. Immediately started to look up, like, where's he from? Like, what kind of Asian is he? Like, I was instantly excited racist for this guy. And so he was doing his interview with the media for the Nashville Predators, and then they have like the TV on the side where they're showing the other draft picks and whatever. And this guy went like a while back. Like, he went like several rounds. But the final pick in this year's NHL draft was Aiden Park. And he went to the Oilers, and I was in love with the reaction to this, because apparently this kid, he showed up, he did not expect that he was going to get drafted. He was just like, I might as well go. If it happens, it happens. But this bro's like, I'm probably not going to get drafted, but I'll go anyway. To the point where I don't know if he like showed up this way, but this is how it ended up happening. He was in a hoodie and shorts, and he gets announced, and he's like, the camera's on him, and Riker Lee's looking at the broadcast, and he's laughing his ass off because this is his roommate, and he's laughing that he's getting drafted in a t-shirt and shorts.
Because everyone's all in their suits and like very presentable, and then this kid comes along like, yeah, I'm just here, I'm chilling, I got drafted.
So I don't know anything about this kid outside of this moment, but whatever happens, I'm happy for this moment, and I wish him all the best. Because you never know. Even though he was picked in the 7th round, he could still have all the potential as someone who went in the 1st. You never know how these things go. So I just wanted to make mention of that. And then we move on to what I thought we would probably talk about first, but then, the draft kind of got me all giddy. How did you feel when this news came out about Marc-Edouard Vlasic?
Honestly, I was kind of sad. A couple seasons ago, we were talking about like why they should buy him out. Like, everyone was really fed up with his play and like how big his contract was and how it was weighing the team down. He stayed a couple more seasons after that, and I was fully expecting him to like retire a Shark at this point because his contract felt immovable. I mean, I still love the guy. He's a character. He's kind of like the the grumpy grandpa of the team. Loves, like, everyone knows how much he loves dogs. He always brings that, like, I don't know, personality to the locker room and stuff. But I don't know. I'm gonna be sad to see him in another team's color if he decides to continue playing. If anyone wants to pick him up, but he deserves to play. Like, he's sick of being healthy scratch and he wants more ice time. That's fair. I understand, but another OG Shark from when I first started watching is gone.
So do you think it's because he wants to play somewhere else and his contract is just not movable?
I think it might be a bit of that and the fact that the Sharks are making more cap space for something for free agency, but who knows? I don't know. I'm not in that room.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we won't really know until the season starts if he ends up getting signed somewhere or he comes out with a statement or whatever. So outside of speculating and the potential that he was injured last season, so it may just be once the season kind of settled down, he sort of considered things and like it either the direction that the team is going, we're obviously going to give ice time to the young guys. That's the only way that they're going to develop. And Vlasic could potentially just sort of have to watch from the sidelines, and it was always a little uncertain how he kind of felt about sticking with the team. We know that he was kind of going through some personal stuff and over the last couple of years, so it's kind of hard to gauge while you're going through like a big life change and whatever. But yeah, I guess like objectively speaking, for like the cap end of things, the financial, it really just, I think that was the first thing that came to my mind. We were just like, but why? Like, we don't need the cap space, right? And in fact, he's definitely helping us, and it also got me in conversation with some friends about like, well, what are we gonna do about Logan Couture? And I was just like, I think it just depends on what happens in the off season, because right now he's actually kind of helping us by by staying there. So yeah, like, yeah, is, I guess it's one of those, well, we wish him well, and I hope, I don't think it's like ill feelings or whatever. Like, that's the furthest from my mind. Like, Greer was his teammate and whatever, and I think the way that Greer does things, as far as we could tell right now, is he's a fair guy, and he's got a little bit of tough love as well, because he's got one of the hardest jobs in this sport. He has to manage this team with all of the rest of the hockey world having all their criticisms about what he's doing. So, well, end of an era, I guess, is how we're going to cap that off. But I guess in happier news, so I want to play this clip from from Joe Thornton getting this phone call.
Hello?
Well, Joe, it's about time you answered your damn phone. Hey, hey, Joe. Hey, Joe, it's Lanny and Ronnie Francis here. I'm going to let Ron give you the so-so news. How's that?
Okay.
We're trying to figure out what you're doing in November. But I'll let...
If anything involves hanging with you, Lanny, I'm in, and Ron.
Well, here's Ron.
Hey, Joe, I just wanted to let you know that we're really excited to welcome you into the Hockey Hall of Fame. You were voted
Holy Ronnie.
It's always great to have another Super Greyhound in there.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God, I'm shaking. Thanks, boys. Holy moly.
Well, I can't believe you didn't answer the phone the first time. And
Well,
thank
I'm
goodness
in Arizona
for,
right now. I'm flying back home. I'm flying back home today, so that's what I was probably doing.
well, that's perfect. And thank goodness for Kelly. She said, we're going to try one more time.
Oh my! Well, thanks for trying, fellas. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
Well, we
Oh.
could not be happier for you or for the Hockey Hall of Fame to have you as our newest member.
Oh, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What a tremendous honor. Oh,
Congratulations,
incredible!
Joe.
I got so. Thank you, boys. Thank you. Oh my God! I don't know what to say. This is incredible.
He
What a
said,
character.
he said, "Holy doodle." I'm gonna add that to my vocabulary, my vernacular. Oh.
Before I saw that video, I saw a graphic of a picture of him and it's saying "Holy Doodle" on there, and I sent it to my friend who was like a huge Jumbo fan, and she was like, "He did not say that, like, did he?" And so I sent like the whole quote, and it's just him being like, "Holy Doodle." It's like, you, sir, are hilarious. And then, there was an interview with a media appearance by Greer, and he was asked about it, and Greer was talking about how he's hoping that next season they can kind of officially get him in as a development coach. Which my reaction to that was like, Greer's cool with him just chilling, for free in the organization and just bringing the great vibes. But at the end of the day, he's like, please let me pay you.
Yeah. What a silly guy. I'm happy for him. I just want to point out that's 2 Sharks that were inducted into the Hall of Fame or will be this year, that including SJ Sharkey. That's all. Legendary.
In some other Sharks news, Gabriel Carriere was signed to a 1-year, 2-way contract. And that is good for the Barracuda. That it's kind of slim picking right now down there. Haven't really heard what's going to be happening with like Romanov. But then we do know that Matt Davis was signed out of University of Denver. So that'll be really great for the Barracuda. And I'm assuming we're still expecting to sign a veteran goaltender to help Askarov out. So I'm looking forward to what we do there in free agency. We already saw John Gibson got sent over to the Red Wings. There's talk about...
Did he? I missed that.
Yep.
That's
so
crazy.
They signed Ville Husso to 2 years. So I think they're going to give more opportunity to Dostal with the Ducks. And yeah, so... Oh, there's been some rumor vibes going on about maybe like Dan Vladar from the Flames maybe up for grabs. And I think that would be a pretty good veteran for Askarov, with him being there to help Dustin Wolf out during his development. So I guess we'll have to wait, though, until free agency opens up on Tuesday.
It's so far. Man.
All right.
I also read somewhere that it might be halted a bit, so it might be slower this year just because everyone's waiting to see what's going to happen with Marner, since he's going to basically set the tone of the entire free agency. And this morning there's rumors that Toronto and Vegas are talking about pulling a last minute trade before free agency starts to get that deal going. So who even knows what's happening anymore, man? If he ends up in Vegas, I'm gonna be so annoyed.
Well, I have thoughts about that, but that's later down in the... We got a couple more Sharks things to tend to before we get into the tea. So Mario Ferraro announced on his Instagram that they are adding to the family. And when I first saw this post, I went, puppy!
Another puppy? And then you're like, wait, why is she holding her stomach? And then you start swiping. You're like, oh.
And then I swiped and went, oh.
That's a human child.
I guess that's cool too. Congratulations.
I suppose. No, good for him. Good for them. They're so young. It's so weird to see such young people having kids. And I say that just because he's younger than me.
Yeah. Well, excited for them. It'll be interesting what happens in this upcoming season. Ferraro is going to be a UFA after this upcoming season. I've been hearing some stuff on other podcasts that make it look like he's kind of on their radar, bracing for impact. I'm not saying that the Sharks would be making a bad decision to trade him, but I'm just bracing for impact.
Yeah. That's going to be so sad because you know it's going to happen.
But you know what? We've got a lot of upcoming guys. I think eventually this would end up happening, and if not next season, at some point, depending on the success of this team. At the end of the day, as much as we love Ferraro, I think every NHL player's dream is to go to the Cup. So
yeah,
if he's getting talked about from some other teams' podcasts that are really interested in having him, I think that's good for him. And it's also really nice to get to be hearing about this stuff because, you know, I went on rant a couple of months back about how it's so annoying to see people in our fan base being like, you know, when we got Jake Wallman and be like, oh, cool, now we can get rid of Ferraro because, you know, he's terrible. And it's like, he's not terrible. He just went through this whole shitty journey with us. And it's like, now you've got the nice, shiny Jake Wallman. He's like, oh, look how much better he is. It's like, look how much better our team is. Like, it's like no shade to Wallman, but it's like, you're just kind of, I don't know. I get very,
Don't get them going.
But it's nice to hear because, you know, I follow a Rangers podcast and they were talking about him and they were kind of more or less saying the same thing. It's like people look at his stats and it's like, yeah, it doesn't look great. And it's like, but yeah, look at Jake Wallman. Like when he was with the Sharks, it doesn't look great either. And then, you know, he gets traded to the Oilers and then, you know, of course he's doing so much better than the Oilers. It's the Oilers. Like,
right. They made it all,
you know,
cup title. Like, it's okay. Oh no, I'm gonna get so sad. Change the subject.
You're gonna get so excited with all these other guys next season. It'll help to lessen the blow.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. The NHL and the NHLPA have closed in on their new CBA. So I just want to go right through it. One of the things that right off the bat, they're extending the regular season by 2 additional games. So that's shortening the preseason. Apparently, there's been talks that the preseason is too long. And I don't really know if I have much of a vibe check on this. I just kind of feel like, isn't it like a lot of games anyway?
Yes. 82 games, they're going to up it to 84. So they're taking away 2 preseason games and adding them to the normal or the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I first saw that, I was like, that's a lot of games. I didn't realize that they were going to shorten the preseason when I first saw this. I was like, that's a lot of hockey for these guys. Is that healthy? Is that normal? But now it makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, so the NHL teams in the 24-25 season played an average of 6.5 exhibition games before the regular season began, including 5 teams playing 8 games. I mean, I don't really have anything right off the bat to compare to with like other sports. But sure, I guess like I kind of see of course, like the Stars don't really play during these preseason games. Like maybe if anything, they play like 1 or 2. I really liked it in terms of, you know, they're using this preseason to kind of figure out who's going to make the team out of like their up and coming prospects. And more so than previous seasons, like I've really enjoyed kind of allowing the team to have this time with who they end up sending back to their junior club or has to go down to the Barracuda. But I guess if they can figure that out in lesser games and they've decided that this just makes sense, like I guess I'm trusting that they know what they're talking about because they're the ones that have to go through it anyway.
Right.
So another point that was added into the CBA was in terms of the playoff salary cap, because we've seen that teams are finding this loophole. The Blackhawks did it in 2015, and then in previous years where the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the cup, they've done it as well. The Knights and the Leafs and all these other guys that mysteriously have guys that just have to spend longer on their IR, and then they're going to be ready to go by the playoffs. Like, and you made this trade during the trade deadline to get this extra guy that would otherwise not fit under your cap. And many of these teams have gone on to, using this loophole, have gone on to win the cup. So they're exploring.
I was gonna say literally everyone on the list except for the Leafs, but I saw the Oilers on that list too, so never mind.
Yeah, so I mean, look, I'm not saying that if the Sharks were to do something like this, that I would be like, no, we shouldn't win the cup. Like, of course, if you're in a situation where it's like your team figures out a way and you're like, who are you to say that, like, no, they should definitely talk about this in the CBA. This is unfair. Like, but we've never really been in this situation. It's really incredibly infuriating to see this happen, especially in recent years as Vegas has done this. And they're something we're going to get to in a little bit here. They're trying to do again, and they're blatant about it.
Yes.
And I think objectively speaking, this is not good for the league.
Yeah.
To allow this to continue to happen. So at the end of the day, they're trying to, of course, a team winning it and having a big market is good for them, but like across the board, it is not good to like just have these teams blatantly doing it. And they're not even doing it like sneakily now. They're just like, yeah, this guy's just going to be injured for 4 months. And we're just not going to tell you, we're not going to give you progress updates. We just know he is going to be injured for 4 months. Another point that was made was shortening the contract term. So we know that when the team, when you trade the rights over of a player, they have the ability to sign them for 8 years, where they're going to be looking into shortening that to 7. And
7? It's not 6? Where's it say? To 7. Oh yeah. That's silly.
Yeah, unrestricted free agents only being able to sign for 6 years in other markets.
Oh. So 6 years if they leave the team they're currently on, but they can do 7 if they
So the compromise is lower the term limit by 1, so the players had the ability to sign for 7 years with their own team, but then a free agency. So it's just a difference of like 1, depending on if you have the rights of the player versus if they're signing in free agencies, which, I mean, we're already seeing with some talks, and then even with the cap going up, like some teams are still, I mean, like the Stars right now are in a situation, and they're looking to doing a potential short term with some of these guys to make it work. Like, I think this will just be good as a whole. And then also, like, if you're, I don't know, like, I think it adds like to the flexibility for the player. Like, I mean, as much as we see players and be like, oh man, I hope Celebrini stays a Shark like forever. Like, does Celebrini actually want to be a Shark forever? It's like, if you sign him to 8 years, like, depending on how that contract is written out, I mean, we know like the no movement clauses, like that's giving the player like more control, and that's good for the player, and then potentially that's good for the team because they lock you into that like lower value. And then, but by the shortened contract, if the player, feels like they want to have more flexibility to move, and we know with like these longer contracts that it makes it harder for these players to get moved because of how much of a cap hit their contract will be. So I think if anything, this will just open up the potential that we see more players get moved around,
Yeah.
because they won't have to deal with like, I'm stuck. I'm like, we're in a rock and hard place because my contract's so long and no one wants to take it on. But I don't want to get sent like anywhere. So
Yeah. I think it could be good. I think it could make the league more exciting, specifically during like the trade deadline and stuff. Yeah, we'll see. I feel like this is their attempt of just making it a bit more entertaining also, because you see a lot of crazy things happening in NBA's trades and stuff, and then the NHL just doesn't compare.
And then they're raising the minimum salary. It'll rise by $1 million over the next several seasons, which I guess that's always good.
Yes.
I guess the bigger. What?
I said out here, like in this economy, yes.
Even though they make shit ton of money, a lot of that's going in taxes. And while I don't have quite as much sympathy than somebody who's day in, day out going through the grind, it's still nice to keep up with inflation.
Yes. I feel like they should do it based on the market. Like states that don't have income tax or whatever, they shouldn't get as much of a raise, because y'all don't gotta pay like we gotta pay out here. I'm just saying.
I guess the bigger point that in the CBA that was making the rounds was the e-bug system change. How do you feel about that?
The Sharks haven't used an e-bug since I started watching, so it makes no difference to me, to be honest.
So from my understanding, how it was previously is every team, the home team provides the e-bug. So at the end of the day, like if the backup can't come in and they need another goaltender to come in, the on-site e-bug is going to have to play for either team. And it's usually it's usually a guy who maybe played like college hockey or at elite level of some sort. And so they strap on the gear and they hop in there and whatever. And it's I think from the fan perspective, it's nice because you kind of like feel the closest to this player in terms of like, oh, living out their dream, playing at the NHL level and whatever. But I think the change to the system, because I can imagine from like the pros perspective, like, oh man, now you have to think even more critically about how you're going to help out your goalie and how you play and whatever. And if it's like a random guy that you have never met until today, it's like, yeah, it's like feel good vibe because this guy is living out his dreams. But then you're like, this is a game that counts. Like now I have to like think about my game, like, even more critically to help you out. And it's like, I'm not thinking ill of you, but it's like, we still have to win this game, And I think the changes to that, while it's not like, they're not going to go and like, I guess I'm wondering how the financial aspect of this is, or if it's just like you just get to live your dream with us and like, that's how it is, because the chances of it happening is like below 1%. It's it's going to be very spontaneous in the moment. You could go several seasons without ever being close to the opportunity. But the e-bug is going to have the ability to travel with the team, engage more in the practices, and it's going to be it's not just going to be like, we got a list of guys who's available today. It's going to be like a little more dedicated, like you are the go-to. So I think it'll just be better for teams, and like the spontaneous, like living out your dream aspect is still there. It's just going to make the teams feel a little better about like, oh, I know Gary, like saw Gary last week at practice, like I just think like it'll make them feel a little better. They're going to have a little more of that like connection with this guy versus like Joe from down the block. Like, like who's this dude? And, like, I guess we're just going to figure it out today in this moment. So,
Yeah. So I guess my question is, does every team now have to travel with an extra person?
I mean, I didn't really see like details are not really like fleshed out. It says details are scarce as to how this will work and what those players will be paid. This article says I'm on the record as seeing this problem as overblown personally, as it's happened frequently. Deciding a job as a role feels like overkill. That's money. Oh, this person's opinion about it. So like the details of it are not exactly like fleshed out, but like this person said in an article, I think they'll figure out something.
Yeah.
Because the fact that like this could potentially not happen at all, and we've seen like even with like Sharks practice, it's like, who's this random goalie that got to step in and take some shot? Like I kind of feel like it's going to be like that dude is going to have more of a chance now to do more of that stuff. And I think I just think it's going to have to be somebody who's going to have that flexibility in their life, because if you're going to have to travel with the team now to like be their potential backup on like a road trip, like if you're working like your 9 to 5 that you have to be on site Monday through Friday, like you have to have a very understanding employer. Like,
yeah, right.
Like I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks to potentially live out my real dreams.
There's a very slim chance you're going to see me on TV tonight. Tune in.
So I'm going to need you to approve my PTO, but not use my PTO.
Right. That's silly.
And then one other thing that wasn't mentioned in this article, but thank you for putting it here on our list, was that the neck guards are going to be mandated in the 26-27 season for all the new players coming in. And I think this is a very positive, welcome change that was largely talked about from the tragedy that happened over in the UK. It just makes sense. I get it. Like much like the visor thing and how they kind of mandated that. I don't recall the bigger story potentially behind that. But I mean, when you think about it, these guys are skating real fast across the ice. They've got sharp objects on their feet. There's been incidents already where people are getting like cut and stuff, and they wear all this gear. Why wouldn't you protect your neck?
Right. I think I'm curious to know if they're going to have a similar thing for goalies, because if right now it's an option whether or not they want to have the neck guard. But if this is going to be mandated for skaters, like, is it going to be mandated for goalies as well? It'd be interesting to see. But yeah, I'm all for this decision also, because like it feels like these skate cutting injuries have been happening a little bit more frequently. You know, I think there were like 2 or 3 this past season. Why yeah, like you said, why not protect your neck? That is a very serious and scary injury. Another thing that wasn't mentioned in the article that we probably should talk about is the dress code that
Oh, yeah.
that was kind of big on like people's opinions. I'm for it. I don't know. You can give your thoughts first if you want, but
I mean, it just seems like it's archaic that they're continuing to make these guys show up in suits. And, you know, I love it for the guys who love it. You know, like I love seeing, like, I'm a suit person, you know, like I don't know if I'd be a suit person going into my 9 to 5 every day. That's not my, you know, that's not how much I love suits. But I love a suit where it's like you're going for this a special occasion. It's like, yeah, I want to look dapper. I want to look, you know, my best. But some of these guys just like, you know, that's not their vibe. They're just like,
Right.
I have to go suit shopping because I have to. And you can see it. And then there's guys in the past, you know, in the Sharks, like they love that. That's their bread and butter. And I love that for them. And if they want to continue doing that after this goes into effect or whatever, more power to them. But a lot of guys, like, why? I don't know. I think it's like this, you know, on top of like the hockey culture thing, this is one of those things where it's just like, no, like you need like that whatever negative opinion, negative perspective, if we allow you to just like show up in your sweats and
Right.
whatever. It's like, are we paying them to like have to like look a certain way? I don't know, but like if I'm sure guys will be much happier just coming in with, you know, if they want to wear a shirt and jeans that day, it's like, well, just as long as you bring your A game on the ice, that's all I care about, you know?
Yeah. I think it's interesting because when I was in high school, I do remember like our high school basketball team having to dress up on game days. So you would see all these teenagers in their suits and like proper wear, and then you knew it was a game day. And I'm pretty sure they got rid of that like in professional sports, except for in the NHL. Um, it's been interesting seeing the comments this week talking about it because it's a lot of like the older guys are like, white people, the hate change. Why are they gonna like wear blah blah casual wear? Like they should be. It's tradition. They should be in their suits. It just looks better. It's very uniform. Blah 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 blah. And it's like it's so boring. Like you look at other leagues. You know, again the NBA. Those guys are coming in wearing whatever the heck they want. And now that I'm more into like following women's sports, like the PWHL, they don't have to wear like these proper suits to come in. They're wearing whatever they want. Like they're still looking nice. Oh, I almost dropped an F bomb. The WNBA, because I'm paying a lot more like closer attention to them. Dude, fashionistas coming down these hallways, you know, they're not wearing like proper suits and their heels and whatever. Like, no, they're coming in, making a statement with their fashion. It's practically a fashion show just before they have to tip off and whatever. It's so much fun. Like, I don't know. I think this could be really good if the players are for it, if they actually do what they want to. But knowing how these guys are, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit slow going with it, and we'll continue seeing a lot of them in suits because they're very one-track minded. But we'll see.
And you know what? If they need some extra time to kind of, you know, make the change and whatever at the personal level, I'm sure the younger guys coming in, I mean, granted, I think some of this also trickles down into the lower leagues and whatever. But I think it's just a change that just needs to happen. And eventually we're going to be talking about this like 3-4 years down the road, and it'll be like, we were talking about that? Like, It seems just so, it's old, it's boring. It has nothing to do with the sport. It's all about like some image that you're trying to project. Like, look how professional and uniformed and cohesive and a team they are. That it's about the team, not the individual. Yeah. Whatever.
Let me have a personality, please.
Okay, now to the T. And as we record on Sunday, I swear this episode is gonna come out, and this is gonna be a moot point. It's gonna be aged. But we're gonna talk about it anyway because we're just gonna talk about it. So I want to play this clip from Elliot Friedman's 32 Thoughts podcast, where he says he has no evidence. It's just him running on vibes. This is just his vibes, and I'm going to let him speak for himself here.
There is another reason that I think people are wondering about this, and people aren't going to be happy with this, certain people, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm not passing any judgment here on guilty or not guilty of tampering. I have no idea. I'm just a guy holding a microphone in the bowels of the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles. But there's been some talk that if Marner goes to Vegas, the Maple Leafs will go after Vegas for tampering. Again, I have no proof that Vegas is guilty of anything, but it's a time around the league where teams are extremely sensitive about it. And as a couple of GMs told me on Saturday, they think the NHL is itching to try and make an example out of someone. Once again, I'm going to stress, I don't have any proof that Vegas is guilty of anything. But if they make a deal with Toronto and send a good player to Toronto, I'm betting any chance the Maple Leafs file for tampering goes away. So all those reasons, getting to Marner faster, clearing cap space, Toronto gets good players, and eliminating any possibility of any tampering investigation, which is being whispered everywhere around the league, all that goes away if this deal gets done. We'll see. No promises, no assurances. That's what I think is going on.
So I hope that they don't get a trade going for multiple reasons. It's so annoying. I have a feeling they're gonna make it happen because it's Vegas, and they're not. I don't think the NHL is gonna want to use them as an example for this, right? They're one of the golden childs. This is my bias speaking. Anyways, I don't want to see Marner in that ugly ass sweater. There, I said it.
So, just a minute ago, we were talking about the new CBA, and we're talking about the cap salary issue or the loophole, and I already gave my thoughts about that. But it's objectively a good idea with the loophole to close it, because you don't want teams to be like, even if you're generally like morally you're trying to follow the rules and whatever, if these other guys are finding the loophole, breaking the rules, getting to the cup and winning it, it's like at a certain point, it's almost like you feel like there's no other choice but to play that game as well. Because right. if they're doing that, and it's like at the end of the day, it's like you're also managing a team with the objective of going to the cup. And if you can't do it, and these guys are finding a way to do it and be successful, yeah, you don't want to get out of hand. And it's going to be real interesting what happens with the Marner trade. We've already given our thoughts about that in previous episodes. Without this potential happening, of course it would make sense for Marner to be interested in going to Vegas. Vegas is continuing to try to get another cup in these coming seasons, but in the past they have taken advantage of the loophole. It looks like they're already going to be doing that. In their current state, if they're not taking advantage of putting someone like Pietrangelo on their LTIR, they cannot get Marner before he goes on free agency without making this deal with the Leafs, getting the Leafs to somehow take some of their guys off of their cap, because they have no room. They have no room, and they're always trying to find a way to do it. And it's really annoying. It's really annoying.
It's a nice way to put it. Yeah, it's a little aggravating, actually.
And it's like, if Marner wants to go to Vegas, yeah, whatever, go to Vegas. But if this is how if he goes there, I mean, the right way to do it, even though I wouldn't want I wouldn't want the Leafs to give them an opportunity to offload guys. I don't even know if there's anybody on Vegas where the Leafs would be interested in taking anyway. But yeah, if nothing ends up happening and the Leafs file for potential that they've been tampering, it's like, yeah, then go ahead and do that, because they probably are.
Well, I have a question, because I don't fully understand what this tampering thing is. Because for me, it's like, these teams obviously are interested in these players that know that they're going on free agency. And so they had to be someone in communication with that player's agent, right?
They're not allowed to talk to the players until free agency.
The players themselves, but the agent is okay?
Because I don't know to that extent, because I looked it up before we started recording so I can get a better idea. And from what I gathered, you're not supposed to be having conversations with somebody who's on contract with a player. Like we see, here and there. Obviously, it's no surprise and no secret that Marner is likely not signing with the Leafs again and will be heading to free agency. Even if they announce it, they're still not allowed to talk to the player because then now you're trying to get a leg up before these other teams, and it's not fair. And I would think that it would extend to the agent as well. Like if the agent is talking with the player about it. So I think wherever this line is, and of course we're going off of these, like whatever socials is saying, whatever folks like Elliot Freeman are hearing from, being an insider or whatever. If Vegas is trying to find a way, if they're trying to find a way to have a conversation to get ahead than all these other teams that could potentially be interested in Marner for free agency, yeah, you're tampering. You're cheating by not following these rules.
So, okay, but I think what's a little confusing to me is like there's a lot of signings quickly after the free agency starts. And so they have to have some sort of discussions with somebody, right? Like they don't just happen on the spot. They have to make those decisions before they agree to them. So I think that's why
I get what you're saying, but like at the end of the day, I don't know if we're ever going to know that. So we kind of have to take it from what's being said here. Like we know once free agency opens up, we open up our socials and just like a million trades that are happening. And it's like, I don't think you started having that conversation at 5 a.m.
Right.
But I do feel like there is some threshold where you're allowed to go this far. You're allowed to be this far away from the door. But if you're inching by like 2 more inches than another team, that's not allowed. And so there's whatever line they're saying that the tampering is occurring because because Vegas is attempting to step over their little toes or over the line. And you need to get off that line.
Okay. Oh, we will forever have ill feelings towards this team.
Oh God, I guess we'll see. If this all doesn't just get resolved on Tuesday, I will be surprised. But anyways, okay. Before we get on to the final thought, I did want to circle back. Like, why did you call it racist when we talking about what kind of Asian he is?
I wasn't being serious.
Okay, I was just wanting to check because I was like, why are you calling me racist? I just want to know his background.
It was a joke. It was a joke because I.
Okay, I kind of figured, but I just was like, okay.
You wait like
All
a
right.
whole hour to come back to that.
I didn't want to just like abruptly say anything. Anyways, so maybe you know more about the Valkyries Pride game than I do in terms of the Pride aspect of it. I did watch the game. What an exciting game. This team is really, really starting to cook. And I almost felt like how I feel when the Sharks are, good during the regular season. It's been a minute since that's happened, but the game before that, when they went against the Liberty, up until like that last like 20 seconds, I was on the edge of my seat, like watching the ball, like traveling the air, looking at the shot clock, looking at the time on, left in the game, like from where this team started out in the beginning of the season to where they are now, where they're starting. And oh my God, Caitlin Chen. I am so excited for her. Even if I don't know the inner workings about with all the players that have gone off to Eurobasket. I don't know how that what it affects when they come back into the roster, but I felt a certain kind of way when she was cut from the roster. I'm not saying that was unfair or whatever. It's just the vibes of her being the first Taiwanese WNBA player, just the representation, everything. Like at the end of the day, that's kind of why I was bummed. I'm like,
Yeah.
that would have been cool. But then she gets to come back when these players go to the Eurobasket, and she is taking every opportunity to make sure she shines, and I am living for it. And that's all I want to say before we get to this Pride game. Take it away.
So I was spontaneous and actually attended the Pride game. I think my girlfriend bought us tickets the day before, and so we headed out there Friday. My God, you would love attending one of these games. The energy in that arena is so good because it's like the corporations haven't taken over yet. It feels like genuine fans. Everyone's excited to see a women's basketball team in the Bay Area. They have sold out 9 games in a row now. They're playing their 10th today. I'm sure it's going to be another sellout. On Friday, they did a little giveaway. I got a little fan here. For those of you who are listening, it's a lavender fan, or I guess violet, because that's their color. It's Valkyrie violet, with their Pride logo in the middle. So their Pride logo and all of the designs were designed by a Bay Area artist. Her name is Fabiana Rodriguez. I don't remember where she's based, maybe Oakland, but she's a queer artist. She does really interesting work. I really love seeing her designs all across the screens all night. But Friday specifically, I know during one of the breaks they did like a dance show. I forget the name of the group because I missed it. My bad. But during halftime, they had a drag show, and oh my God, it was so much fun. It was 3 of them doing their own lip syncs. Fuck, I don't even have the thing open, so I can't even tell you their names. But one of them was a local. Is it here? Is it here? Wait, let me see if I can find it. A local drag show. A drag queen, based in Oakland, I want to say. And then the second person they announced appeared on RuPaul. Dang it, it's not coming up. Okay, cool. That's fine. Fuck, I can't remember their names. I'm so sad. I should have been more prepared. And then the third
performer Ronnie Reddick.
Yes. And then also I think she was like emceeing. But then the third person that lip sync was the first trans woman to compete in Miss America, like the beauty pageant thing. And she's from the Bay, but she represented Nevada, I believe, which I thought was really cool. Oh my god, and she killed it. Like she was born to entertain. We were all like jumping out of our seats. It was so much fun. Um and then the game again, it was such a good game. They ended up winning 83-78 against the Chicago Sky. I got to watch Angel Reese play. That girl loves to foul. But, Valkyries ended up winning the game. And again, just like the energy in that building is electric. It's so much fun. I definitely want to go again sometime this season. It's great. Make it out sometime.
Yeah, I've been eyeing a potential game in August. It's just a lot more planning to head out to San Francisco.
Yes.
I have a coworker who has season tickets, but she lives down here in San Jose, and I they make it work somehow. But I was just like, how do you even manage to get out to games like
Probably take, like the
that
Caltrain.
frequently? I know,
Or-
but it's the fact that if you do Caltrain, it's still like with the travel, with walking there and then another train, like it's still, you're doing like at least an hour and a half to 2 hours just to get there for like a 2-ish hour game, and then you're taking 2 hours back. It ends up being a whole day thing, which
Yeah.
I don't mind doing like here and there, but
Yeah.
the fact that they have season tickets, I'm like, man,
That's crazy.
that is
yeah.
some extra dedication. But yeah, I've been watching just about every game that I can, unless they're on freaking Amazon Prime. And it has just been so fun to just watch this team just kind of, like, I don't know what expectations anybody had out, like my vibes with it is similar to just Bay FC. I'm just happy to be here,
Yeah.
like excited to have a team here, excited to get more into a sport and whatever. And just like, yeah, the fact that they were so close to beating the Liberty in the previous game, and the Liberty, I believe, is like second in the league right now. Like
Defending champions, I think.
That too. Like, it is exciting for this team to be in their inaugural season, and yeah, and having sold out games. So
Yeah. I was looking to buy a jersey that day. I didn't, but I was definitely eyeing Chen because I love the number 2 as a jersey number. But after watching the game, I was like, dude, Kayla Thornton is a beast. I would love her jersey. She set a career high of 29 points with 6 rebounds on Friday. She is having herself a season, and like she's a badass out there.
yeah, there's so many cool players on this team. Like, I don't know really anything else outside of like the stuff that made the headlines last season with the WNBA, and yeah, but being able to kind of really get engrossed in this sport and to learn about all this stuff has been really exciting for me. And I'm sure the fact that all these games have been getting sold out, like everybody's like super excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're not already taking an interest in the Valkyries, you guys got to get into this. I've been spamming Nate. I'm sure he's following it along too, because every now and then he tells me something about the Valkyries, like, oh, I saw a clip of this or whatever. But I've been like sending him stuff and being like, Caitlin Chen, and he's just like, I saw that. So just living vicariously through this incredible WNBA player.
Yes, it's really exciting out here right now. It's fun.
All right. Woo. All right. That is quite an episode that we have for you today. It will be our final episode for this season while we go on a little bit of break.
Well deserved.
We'll still be around. I'm anticipating there's going to be a lot to be be just chatting about as free agency opens up on Tuesday. We didn't talk about, I just want to bring up briefly, I'm really waiting for the Sharks to tell us who is getting qualified on offers. We know who's not. They've already come out and said that they're not giving Noah Gregor a qualifying offer. Big surprise. They're not giving Klim Kostin a qualifying offer. This is unfortunate. I like what he brought in initially, but then I think he kind of just sort of faded into the shadows in the following season. But there's a number of other guys that I didn't see officially, but some potential vibes around. God dang it! What is his name? Gushin, Danil Gushin.
Yeah.
Like, he could potentially be getting one. I think he deserves it. I'm kind of figuring Bordelot is on his way out, which is really, really unfortunate. I was really rooting for him, but I can kind of see if like we kind of just let him go. Like, it's unfortunate, but when you've got all these up and coming dudes and a lot, the team is getting younger and younger. These prospects are getting more and more competitive. What are you going to do, right? You have to make these decisions. So with that, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to who is filling up our roster.
Who is going to help us hit the cap floor?
Cap floor, number 1. Number 2, competitiveness to get out of the NHL's basement next season. All exciting things we're going to continue to look at during this break, and we'll bring all the excitement and whatever whenever we end up returning to talk about next season. So,
right. We can breathe for a moment. Anyways,
I don't want to breathe. I want to know what's going on. I am thirsty for what this team is going to look like. I get that there hasn't been a whole lot of news across the board because we've been the draft and then free agency hasn't opened up, but it's like, man, I want to know. This is just how I can put it. Like, I just want to know.
Just wait a couple more days. We'll start to get an idea.
All right. And until we see you all next time, I've been your host, Jay.
And I've been Nas. Thanks for following along this season. It's been fun.
All right. Till next time. Goodbye.
Bye.